right, so we have our choice of surface. We have a brush. I've chosen the one from the fronds of the broom. And now we've got to think about what can we make, what can we use as paint? What can we paint with? And one of the easiest things to paint with, which is quite easily accessible, is food coloring. So you get different kinds of food coloring. And at this stage, they cost about, I think about R8 a bottle. So they're not expensive, and this goes a long way. So I want to show you how to mix this food coloring to use as paint. You'll need a fairly large jar. This is a mayonnaise jar or container. It could even be a yogurt tub. And basically, you're going to take your food coloring and pour it into your jar. Let's just get this open. And the food coloring is basically going to need about 400 milliliters of water per 1 bottle of food coloring. And 400 milliliters of water, let's have a look at it in the jar. It's just over half the jar, or about 2/3 of the jar. So here you've got your first color, yellow, that you can use as a kind of an ink or a paint. And what I'm going to suggest that you do is that try to get hold of the 3 primary colors. And the primary colors are red, yellow, and blue. These colors are the magical colors in nature, and all other colors are mixed from red, yellow, and blue. So if we have a quick look at the color chart, here we've got the primary colors, red, yellow, and blue. Here you can see them, red, yellow, and blue. And if we mix these together, that's when we start getting the secondary or the complementary colors. So yellow and red will give you a lovely orange. Yellow and blue will give you green, and blue and red will give you purple. So if you can possibly get those 3 colors, that'll serve you in good stead. If you can't and you can only get hold of one, that's also fine. It's a start. So here I have my yellow, and I have pre-mixed my red. I'm going to open here, and here I have some blue. Now, to mix the secondary colors, you need to be a little bit careful, because you need to find a way that works for you to actually mix these colors together to get the secondary colors. So what I actually use is I've got these little pepitas here that suck up the colors that I can put into different jars to create other colors. Otherwise, you can just pour them into smaller jars like this. If you only want small amounts, you can use a spoon to measure. But I find what's quite useful is to collect little jars like this, which I've put in a seedling container. And if you can get 6, these are these thin kind of mustard jars. Otherwise, you can use purity jars or yogurt containers, whatever you can find. So here I have my little stable container for my paints. So just keep in mind that these things can tip over very easily, and you don't want it to tip over and land on your clothes or on the carpet or something like that. So try and keep them, if it's not in a seedling box, you can put them in an ice cream tub or another little box just to keep them stable. So here we are, we've got our reds. We've got our yellows. And blue. Now, keeping in mind that depending on the amount of water that you mix with this food coloring, that will determine how intense the color is going to be. So if you want it to be stronger, mix less water. If you want it to be softer, mix more water. So just one way of mixing this food coloring together to get your secondary colors is using this little pepita. So I'm going to gather myself some red. Maybe I'll take 3 of these. There we go. And then just to save washing, I'm going to use a new one, and I'm going to take my yellows, or my yellow, should I say. I'm going to take, being the lighter color, more yellow than red. So let's have a look. And here we've started to get an orange, and you can play around until you get the orange that you want, right? So that's our first secondary color. There we go, we've got a lovely orange color. Quite a deep orange. So we've got red, orange, yellow. And now I'm going to take some of my red, or yellow should I say, excuse me. I'm going to take some of my yellow, mix it with a little bit of blue. I'm going to wash my brush. This is the broom brush, remember? And let's see here, I've got my lovely green coming, a deep green, a deep forest green. There you go. So what color is missing from the rainbow? We've got red, orange, yellow, green, blue. And last one, purple, indigo purple. So I've got my blue, and I'm going to mix the blue with the red, and that should give me purple. So let's try. So remember, you don't need these fancy things. You can just pour it in, and pour it just drop by drop, little bit by little bit, until you get the amount that you want. So I'm just experimenting at the moment. I'm not giving you any particular amount. You can try it out for yourself. Okay, let's see if that gives me a purple already. There you go. There's the purple. So we have all of our colors in the form of food coloring. We've got a surface and we've got a brush. And what I would like you to try over the next period is just playing with these colors. So with these colors, you can do layer upon layer and make it darker and thicker and more intense. You can put one color over the other color and see what happens. So really, it's just a case of exploring, getting to know your brush. You're making friends with your materials. You're not thinking about wrong or right at this stage. You're just playing and seeing what happens when one color meets another color. Maybe you want to tip your paper a little bit, see what happens when it runs, explore. Just get rid of that feeling of right, wrong. Maybe you want to just take your brush and flick it a little bit and see what happens. Remember to wash your brush before you put it back in each particular color, because you don't want to muddy your colors. And so notice that even if you take the primary colors just on the paper itself, so here I've got yellow and I put a bit of blue, you're going to start to get the greens. And so you're starting to have a lot of fun with different colors and exploring and playing and letting go of the fear of being wrong or right. So just one thing I want to warn you of, if you take all of these colors and mix them together, you're going to get a dark, kind of a browny black color. So try that as well. See what happens. Just mix them all together and get that dark color. You don't always want to make mud, but just explore making this dark color so that you don't kind of fall into that trap. And that brings us to the end of this introductory video, and I hope that you can gather all your materials together and that we can get stuck in next week to create something really beautiful. Thank you.